I will be interpreting the meeting into Spanish, so if somebody needs interpretation services, please come by so you can grab a device. Hola, buenas noches. Voy a estar interpretando la reunión en español. Si necesita servicios de interpretación, por favor pase a tomar un dispositivo. Gracias.
Welcome to the Modesto City Schools. We're regular board of the education meeting. Sorry, woo. It's the 1,412th meeting, and I go ahead and call the meeting to order. In closed session, the board gave direction to legal counsel, and the board also appointed the board president to work on negotiating the superintendent contract terms in the superintendent search. So please stand and join me for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, students. All right. We are pleased to welcome students from Alberta Martone Elementary School to lead us in the flag salute tonight. Tonight we have Veronica Gutierrez. Veronica is a third grader, and she's hardworking, helpful, responsible student. She is proud to be bilingual, speaking Spanish and English. Veronica is a member of the Garden Club, chorus, and Spanish class. Outside of school, she loves to read and play tetherball and soccer. Veronica plans to study to be a doctor to help sick children. We also have Manuel Jacob Lopez. He's a third grader and is a good friend to others and is always helpful in the classroom. He is also bilingual, speaking English and Spanish. At school, Manuel is involved in the Garden Club, Spanish class, and will be a member of the safety patrol when he is old enough. Outside of school, he loves to read and play soccer. Manuel plans to study to be a robotics engineer. Great job, students. Will you please lead us in the pledge tonight? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, students. Before I go down and we take pictures, I want to call your attention to the fact that if you wish to address the board during the period for public comment on a subject not on the agenda, you must complete a public presentation request card and submit it to the board president prior to the period for public comment. Only those who have submitted cards will be called upon to speak, and no cards will be accepted after the period has begun. Every person who wishes to address the board must fill out a card. They can be found in the lobby out there, and I've received 17 so far tonight. You will find the cards in the lobby. The period for public comment is limited to 30 minutes. Time will be allotted equally to individuals based on the number of request cards submitted. The maximum time for any one speaker is 3 minutes. I also want to remind you that if you wish to make a complaint against a specific district employee, you should follow the district's personnel complaint procedure. Copies of that procedure are also available in the lobby, as are agenda copies which outline the procedures we will observe during the period for public comment. The right to address the board does not exempt the speaker from any potential liability for defamation. The law limits the response of board members and prohibits the board from taking any formal action during public comment. Thank you. All right, students, let's take your picture.
Sorry, the microphone wasn't working very well in the back.
Oh,
so
okay.
I had it come out.
Our engineer and doctor.
Good evening. We're time for our recognition here tonight. We're going to start off with our character education recognition. And I'd like Leslie Martinez Mandojano and Helena Raymond to come forward. They're from Gregory High School. And Derek Penley is here to talk about them for honesty. Please come on up.
Well, some students show up to school one morning and find a wallet with $500 cash in it. They would think they hit the lottery. Maybe plan their fun weekend, especially when that wallet really didn't contain any information to get it back to that student. That's what these two young ladies did one morning. They showed up to school, noticed the wallet on the ground, opened it up. There was over $500 cash in there, and they brought it up to the office. No money missing, really no ID to get it back. So I was thinking, well, it's going to be tough. We'll put it in the safe, and hopefully a student will be able to identify it. And sure enough, shortly after they left, this young lady who was a senior showed up, obviously in a panic, had decided to come to school to purchase a lot of senior items in the student body office and thought she had missed that opportunity. But because of the honesty of these two young ladies, she was able to purchase her senior items that she wanted to that day. And so I just wanted to congratulate you and thank you for being such a great representation for Gregory High School.
Next, we have Rothany Moon from Grace Davis High School. The presenters are Ellen Boley, a counselor, and Sarah Gill, the principal. So please come on up. Congratulations. Ellen, are you going to... Will you be doing the talking?
Yes. Okay. I have a little script here to read. This is Rothany, and Rothany's always willing to assist others. After school one day, he noticed an elderly man and his wife struggling to change a tire in the parking lot. Rothany jumped in to help, and the couple was beyond grateful. This is just one example of the kindness he exhibits. Rothany is truly a compassionate, respectful, and thoughtful young man.
Come on in, Sarah. Great. Moving on with the special recognition, Every Student Succeeding. The Association of California School Administrators and the Stanislaus County Office of Education's Every Student Succeeding programs honor students who have overcome serious challenges, succeed beyond expectations, or just won people's hearts. 4 students were selected to represent Modesto City Schools. Unfortunately, 3 of them are unable to be here tonight, but we do have one. And I had the opportunity to be at that breakfast ceremony a few weeks ago. And so I'd like to right now introduce Braylon Generosa and Jennifer Filippini, come on up, from Burbank Elementary School. Come on up.
I'm Jennifer Filippini, and this is Brian Hinojosa. And Brian is my student this year, and I nominated him for this award. He is most deserving of any student I have ever worked with in all my 19 years here with Modesto City Schools. Brian he's had many medical challenges. He faces them every day, and he does so with such a positive attitude. He comes to school, he's happy, he smiles, and the number of challenges that he faces. I mean, he has a difficult time hearing and speaking and communicating. And even though those things are very difficult for Brian, he has managed to succeed. He has moved to the top of my class in math, and he is making so many improvements in reading. He reads to me, we do our fluency, and I can hear everything he's saying. And I am just so very proud of this little boy and all that he has accomplished this school year. And it takes a team effort. We have lots of people to help us and to help Brian. And I couldn't be more proud of any student I've ever had. So thank you.
We had a couple others. We have a couple others I want to introduce their names. From Grigori, we had Robbie Hall, and also Enoch student Ren Banoyanu. However, we had one of our students be selected to represent the whole area, the county, and that is Davis Senior Rose Goulart, who was not able to be here, but I'm going to ask Sarah Gill, the principal, to come up and talk about Rose. Rose won a $500 scholarship and will represent Stanislaus County at the statewide event. So let's hear about Rose.
Rose Goulart's one of our awesome senior students at Davis High School. And what makes her extraordinary is not that she has the highest GPA at Davis High School, but those types of accomplishments don't come easy. They come with a lot of hard work. And despite her life circumstances, challenges, etc., she overcomes those and she uses it to drive her. And I would encourage all students, here in the audience to use Rose as an example. She represents the Spartans and everything we stand for with hard work, determination, and not letting obstacles that come in our way to stop us from achieving our goals. And Rose will be heading off to UC Santa Barbara, which was her #1 school, in the fall. So she's very excited and unfortunately couldn't be here tonight. We celebrated last Wednesday at an AXA award ceremony for this same award. And then she headed off to an FBLA state convention over the weekend. So I'm not sure where she is tonight. She's probably doing another activity that she's so, heavily involved in school. So we appreciate the recognition, and I know she'll represent our region well at the next level.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
And finally, we have our MCS heroes, and the first one is Allison Harden. She's a special day teacher at Garrison, and she was nominated by an anonymous person, but Shanton Fee, the principal, is here to talk about her.
So it is a pleasure to nominate our teacher, Allison Harden. She comes to work every day with a smile on her face. And just with the special needs students that she has in her classroom that have autism, she just goes the extra mile for her students, as well as her support staff in the classroom. She's there to support them every step of the way, and also just being that compassionate and caring teacher, and also building that camaraderie and teamwork that we have here at Garrison. She's able to be just, part of the team. So she's not just an MCS hero, she's a special ed hero.
Next, we have Jerry Carino. Jerry's a ACES site coordinator at Robertson Road, Kirshen, and Burbank. And he was nominated by Ms. Gutierrez, ACES paraprofessional. So, Jerry, why don't you guys come up?
Hello. So I wasn't the only one who nominated him. Mr. Hurst, who I believe was in the back, also nominated him as well. The reason why is not because he's my boss. It's because he always goes the extra mile. There's certain things that you have to do, and Mr. Carino does more. He learns the students' names. He makes sure to always go in with a smile. He truly empowers them to reach their full potential, and he makes sure that he goes above and beyond each day.
Next, we have from Gregoria High School, Jeanette Martine, I believe, and Derek Penley will come up and talk about Jeanette.
Thank you. So Jeanette was nominated by an anonymous person, but she's well deserving of this. Last summer, she lost her husband right before school started, and I met with her and asked her, how much time do you need? But she wanted to get right to work, and it wasn't, I'm sure some of it was distractions. The other part of it, the main one, was because of the students. She wanted to be there for the students because they count on her. She's a safe place in the office for students to come in, and she's like another second mom or grandma to them. And so because of that, she's definitely an MCS hero.
Let's hear it one more time for all the people that were recognized here tonight.
Thank you so much. We have such amazing employees and students in our district. We are so fortunate. All right, this takes us to item A6 for approval of the consent agenda. And I believe Trustee West, do you have it to declare a conflict?
Yes, I have a conflict on item C7. My husband works for one of the companies, so I would like to recuse myself from this vote. Thank you.
Okay, so let's see, so we'll be looking at approving the consent agenda without we'll approve C7 first while she steps out. And so is there any board comment on item C7? Seeing none, are there any public comment on item C7? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion from the board for approval of C7. So moved. And it's been seconded. It's been moved by Trustee Brown and seconded by Trustee Lopez. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion moves. Trustee West can come back in. All right, that takes us to the approval of the consent agenda minus item C7. Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a comment on any consent agenda item? All right, any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion for approval of the consent agenda minus C7.
I move approval.
All right, the motion's been made by Trustee Marks and seconded by Trustee Walker. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, then the consent agenda is approved. This takes us on to the item A7, which is approval of the order of discussion action items. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, are there any comments from the public regarding the discussion of order of action items? Seeing none, then we'll come back to the board for Superintendent Redquist. Your light's on. It was an error. Okay. I just saw it, so I'm not sure how long it had been on. All right, that takes us back to the board for a motion for approval of the order of discussion action items. So moved by Trustee Walker and seconded by Trustee Jimenez. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
State aye. All right. And the motion approves unanimously. All right, this takes us to the period for public comment. And let's see. Did we get any additional cards since I announced we're 17? No. Okay. So instead of going back and counting again, we have 17 cards in usually 30 minutes. So I'm going to give 2.5 minutes to each speaker. And our assistant tonight is Ms. Gloria, and so she's going to be timing you, and it'll appear up on the screen. So the first. All right. Are we ready to have that appear up there? Or? Oh, technology. I was looking over there and it didn't show anything. It's something going on up here. All right. There we go. All right. So the first speaker card we have is Stacy Bryant Crosby. Good evening, Miss Crosby. Let's not start till we get technical here.
All right. Oh, there you go. I thought I was too short.
All right, good deal.
538 is an organization that uses statistical analysis to tell compelling stories. In January of 2018, it was reported that 84% of women who have been sexually molested or raped, nationally, there's 84% of women who have experienced some type of sexual molestation. And of that 84%, only 15.8 to 35% of women report the incidences. And this is why. Recently, I learned that there was a student who attends a Modesto City school and is in middle school, and she was asked to go into the girls' locker room by the assistant principal. She was not given a reason why, but the assistant principal let her know that her locker needed to be searched, and she complied. The assistant principal then went about telling her that he needed to search her person and did not inform her of her civil right to refuse a physical search. But because she did not know any better, which all of our students should be made aware of at the beginning of every single school year because it's their right to know, he proceeded to touch her body in the places that we tell our kindergartners are no places. After that, he told her that he needed to have her strip searched. Now, mind you, it was just this man and this young lady in the girls' locker room. When she said that she was not going to comply, he said that he was going to suspend her. And she asked why, because I'm not going to take my clothes off in front of a man. And he said, no, because you're not complying. So she said, well, the only way I'm going to do that is if there is a woman to do it. A woman was called in. However, when they learned that she had multiple layers of clothes, they proceeded to force this girl to take off her shirt and pull down her pants with that man, the assistant principal, still present. That's sexual harassment. That is borderline pedophilia. And when you hear from the parent of this student, I expect to find out that this board has taken the necessary action, because I promise you, with the NAACP, Advocates for Justice, the local news, this will turn into an ugly fight that Modesto City Schools does not want. And I'm prepared to put my name, my family name, and everything else that I love on the line to protect our young women, because this is nonsense.
All right, Edwina Kano. And I just want to announce that Mr. Ridquist is here if there is someone that would like to talk to him and schedule a time with him.
Yes, we are La Raza Parents Union. Will be intervening as well as far as being in the trenches, trying to find out where the constitutions of this child was interrupted.
Hello, my name is Edwina Kano. My daughter attended La Loma. I'm here today because I am very unsatisfied with the way my daughter was being served at this district. I come before you guys, the board, to let you know that on March 8th, my daughter's constitutional rights were violated under the Safe Place Learning on that day. It was not safe, secure, peaceful, and I want to thank AFJ and We Are La Raza Parents Union, Debbie Barrera, because I know that now my voice will be heard. This incident that happened, that took place with my daughter, I was not notified, I was not told until I went and called the cops because of this happening. My youngest daughter's school, which my daughter used to attend to, went and confronted my daughter about this situation. Her confidentiality was completely ripped from her. My daughter has been, now she's in counseling. She has the worst anxiety, and I cannot believe that she went through this because of a vice principal who wanted to take it into his own hands to search my daughter and not notify me at all. And I am livid with this, and I'm trying to do everything I can to make peace, dealing with my daughter who don't want to be seen in places. She don't want to deal with anything. She's becoming to herself, and it is literally ripping her from who she is. And for this man to still be at this school after this complaint has been put in and as if it is like nothing. And this guy is totally abusing his rights as authority, disciplining other kids because of this situation, because they witnessed things. I'm just livid, and I can't believe that this even happened. And so I just wanted to share that and let you guys know that, you know, now that I do have We Are Rasa Parents Union with me, I'm glad my voice is going to be heard and things are going to be taking place. Thank you.
Miss Kano? I'm so sorry. I want to make sure that we have a phone number to contact you. On the card I have, I don't have a phone number.
Okay.
Would you be willing to fill that
Yes,
out? I'm going to
no
send
problem.
it your way.
I filled out the card because she was still over at our meeting, and so
Okay.
I just wanted to put her card in before 6 o'clock.
A phone number and it may be more than one, and an address as well would be helpful for our
Okay.
staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Oops. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lord.
All right. The next speaker I have is, Enshanula. I'm not doing you. Thank you for coming up here, and you can tell me how to correctly say your name. And I think it's E-H.
It's Esanula Esan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming this evening. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present what I have as a parent. My name is Esan. I'm the father of a 12th grader, Mushtaq. He's in Davis High School. And don't be surprised if I say I'm also a student at Modesto Junior College. I'm taking some English classes. And the main theme of our current class is the American Dream. And it was so interesting for me when I learned about the American Dream and also why people from around the world come to this beautiful country and they look for opportunities. So one thing I would like to present is that the American Dream is about equality of opportunities. And that equality of opportunities, when new immigrants come, their major barrier is the language. The language prevents them from achieving their dream. And the dream is what it makes this country unique. Since I have a son in Davis High School, and first when we came to America, we lived in Manteca, then we moved to Modesto for this sole purpose that there is a school and it has a language institute that it will help your children and make him prepare to the college, to his college. So in my opinion, I think the Language Institute is doing an amazing job in preparing students for their American dream, for their path to the American dream, and making them prepare to college. And recently I learned that there are other schools also that they are called adult school, but I heard that they are not that effective as much as this Language Institute is preparing students to their path to the American dream and how they could be prepared to the college. So this is all I wanted to present, and thank you so much. And I would like to thank Mrs. Bird. She is certainly the voice for immigrants, the newcomers, and we really hope that this institute is supported and they continue what they do. So they allow students after 18 years that they continue until they finish high school and be prepared for college. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Samantha Bland. I think it's a D at the end. You have a helper tonight.
I do. And Mr. Redcrest, I'm going to make you feel very old. This is actually a child of one of your students. So, good evening. Samantha Bland. I live at 305 Hints Avenue. And this is Natalie Hollander. She's my granddaughter. And we're here this evening really to recognize a bus driver. We talk a lot about safety in schools, but this particular bus driver really looked about safety outside of the area too. Natalie, I have her on Friday afternoons, and from the time she was 9 months old, we'd wait out there for the school bus who was picking up the children for La Loma. And we'd sing the wheels on the bus, and she'd wish the kids a good day. And about 6 weeks ago, we've been doing this for about 3.5 years. And about 6 weeks ago, Natalie asked me, she said, the bus is here, can I go out and see it? And she waited on the porch. And I was in the living room, obviously in eyesight. But Barbara, the bus driver, didn't see me. And she literally got off the bus, came to my door, knocked on the door to make sure that Natalie was safe and that she hadn't gotten out. And so we want to say thank you to Barbara, don't we? Do we want to say thank you to Barbara? And that's really why we're here, because school safety is really not just on the campus, but it's also community safety. And really, Barbara was pretty terrific. So we want to thank you and want her to be acknowledged. So.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for coming. That's so cute. Right. Thank you. All right. Okay. Anicia Meyer?
Thank you for allowing this time of public comment. I'm here on behalf of the Davis Language Institute. I'm a professor and an expert in English language learners. You have my contact information on the card. And I'm here because I have heard that there has been some movement for the board to consider new policy regarding the aging out or the maximum age of English language learners who attend Davis High School and the Language Institute. And I'd like to just ask you to consider the data. I'd like you to consider the data for student success at and after adult school and GED attainment. The funding that you would receive at a district for a change in policy, sending students who are currently attending traditional high school would not, in most states, is not of parity with what the funding that you would receive now that they are attending a regular high school. The success for students who attend adult school and GED programs post-secondary, post-high school is also not as good, the data suggests, as students who attend and graduate from a regular high school program, regardless of whether that is a special newcomer program or a high school that supports English language learners in general. The other thing I would like to suggest is that you also look at the data on the positive side. Nationally, districts like Denver, New York have made special accommodations for newcomers who have significant interrupted traditional educations, like most of the students who are at Davis High School. And these policies have seen the opposite effect. They have been extremely successful, especially with the older students, age 18 to 21. So I would consider you to do some investigation, both for sample policies, looking at districts like Denver, looking at districts like New York, before you rush into a decision about changing a policy that perhaps might not have the outcomes for the students that you would like to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Perez? All right. An Avid student. All right. Go Avid.
Right.
There we go.
My name is Daniel Perez. I'm a student at Davis High School. I'm also part of the Avid team, as you can see in my shirt. The reason I'm mainly here is because of these two students who were not allowed. Now there's only one, luckily. They were not allowed because of their age, simply because of that. And I think that it's not even fair, because if we don't allow them to study, how will they help the country in general? where they won't be able to get works where they can maybe pay more taxes, so that fund can be used more into education or anything that's needed on programs like welfare, medical, or anything like that. So I'm just asking the board, it's just an open question, how will it be that if we don't allow these students to enter just because of their age? Most of the students I know, many of them are overage, though they're still at Davis High School because they don't know English really well. So if we don't allow them that representation, will they be even be able to help the country in general? I don't think that will happen, because if we don't allow them, they won't be able to get any jobs or any well-paid jobs where they have to pay more taxes, I already said. Before that, I have to talk about the Language Institute. There's a lot of people from many different countries, many of them who I know pretty well. They don't know English, and some of them I know don't really want to work hard to know it, because many of them who I know are Spanish speakers. They say, well, this state where the Spanish is one of the main languages, why would I have to learn it? If it wasn't for the Language Institute, I wouldn't be even here. I knew barely any English. If it wasn't because of the program, in a year and a half, I was already considered as an English proficient person. That wouldn't be if it wasn't because of the Language Institute. I just wanna let you know to consider taking this other girl, letting her the opportunity to study so she can be a help for the country, and so she can help a lot of people, not only, well, just that the country in hell. Thank you for your time. That's all I want to say.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. Paulo Rodriguez? Paulo? Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paula Rodriguez. I'm 17 years old, and I'm from Mexico. I came to the United States almost 3 years ago. Today, I'm here in representation of all the students of Language Institute. When I was living in Mexico, the probability to go to college was 1 in a million, because my parents couldn't afford the cost, and also because I'm the third of 4 child that wanted to go to college. So I just realized that I wasn't able to do it. And in my head, there was always this thought that I was just able to go to high school until I came here to Davis High. The day I met Miss Bird, she tested me in my English level, and it was really bad, more than it is now. But she was so nice and comprehensive with me that I didn't feel embarrassed of myself. And when I finished the test, she asked me a question that is going to change my life. She said, "Paula, do you want to go to college?" And I said, "Yes, of course I want to go to college." Then the next day, my first class was AVID. And there was Miss Koski, who explained me that her class was to prepare students for college. And I have to say that Miss Koski is always pushing us to keep going and have better grades to get enrolled in a 4-year college, because she knows that we are capable of doing that and even more. I'm not the only student of the Language Institute that are in this and others awesome classes. All of us are part of it. And it's not just for be prepared to go to college, because we are gonna graduate with honors. Something that even a student that their language exiled at the beginning were 0, and now it's 900, 1,000, or even higher could achieve. It's not because your skin color or your first language or your ethnicity, not even your age, because age shouldn't be an impediment for school. It's about that desire to continue with high school. We are in the same boat. We want to be someone in life, and we're not giving up. Don't deny us the opportunity that we came here looking for, because we're awesome kids that in the future, we're going to be the next generation of doctors, teachers, lawyers, presidents, designers. I'm truly grateful with Language Institute because it changed my life in a wonderful way. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paula, and the other students that came. It's always a pleasure to hear from our students. Thank you so much. All right. Hind I think that's what it says. Iphone? Good evening.
Good evening. Okay, cool. Hi. So, my name is Hind, and I've been here for 2 years, and I'm from Davis High School. And if you couldn't notice, there's a pattern here. We're all here to support our friends who are going to be over 18 when they graduate. Now, I just want to tell you a brief story. So, when I first came in, I knew a little bit of English. And it was kind of enough for me to kind of understand what was going on in class, right? So that's when I left Read 180 and I went to a normal CP English class, which is a college prep class. And it's a sophomore class who was taught by Miss Kosky, which I didn't even know they were going to talk about. So, at the beginning, I was trying my best, trying hard, and I had a big motivation. I can do it. I'm all for it. And then I gave up. See, it's not as easy as people imagine it to be, and it's not as smooth and, easy of a process. Now, I wanted to give up, and I was done with it. I'm not taking this class anymore. I'm going back to Read 180. But I talked to my teacher, and she said, Hind, no. She didn't say give me a chance. She said, give yourself another chance. She held my hand, and I was crying. I told her I couldn't keep going, and she told me that I should believe in myself, and that I should keep going, and that I have to, and that I will. Now, this is something people overlook all the time. Emotions. That's what make us human. That's what make a high school different than adult school. That's what our Language Institute kids need. Because they're not asking for a second chance. They're asking for their first chance. After they're left, whoa. And this policy that states that kids above 18 should go to adult school, I agree with you guys. Sometimes this case should be applied, but not for kids who are here because they want to learn, not for kids who've been here for a few years, who are learning language, let alone leaving all this trauma, leaving war, leaving everything they left behind, leaving all their family to learn more. And that is what we define as the American dream. That's what makes America great. Thank you.
Thank you, Hind. All right. Sava Yusser or Sabab? S-A-V-A-B or an H at the end? S-A-V Yasser? Language Institute? No one? I'm sure that's an S, and it's an A and a V, and then maybe another A and a B? Looks like? Okay. All right, well, if they decide later. Alasi Al-Jawabra? Good evening.
Good evening. So my name is Ala Jabra and I'm from Syria. I'm 19 years old and I'm a super senior at Davis High School. People usually call it fifth year, but this is actually my third year at Davis High. So when I first arrived in the United States 2 years ago, I was without an English word. I found the journey to fluency and learning a new language was confusing and frustrating. In my English class at Davis High, I did not understand the teacher. I was embarrassed to speak. It was difficult for me to find the right words to express my thoughts and feelings. I failed tests, missed homework assignments because I did not understand the language. Eventually, I realized that if I want to achieve my goal, I have to work even harder to become fluent, even eloquent in English. I threw myself into learning English, practicing grammatical exercises, performing speaking drills, working on Read 180 and System 44. Finally, my hard work paid off. I was chosen to participate in RIF America Leadership Program in Washington, D.C. There and elsewhere, I have been given speeches, educating others about Syrian culture and what it means to become a refugee. I have earned A's in my all classes, and through my teacher nomination, have twice won my school's Spartan Educational Excellence Award. I was afraid that I would be trapped by an inability to speak English, but now I'll be the first one in my family to go to college. I'll be attending the University of the Pacific next year and want to be a pharmacist. At the end of my senior year, which was last year, I was counted as dropout. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck at UOP in your studies. And Mahaboba? I'm sorry.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Mahbouba. I'm 16 years old, sophomore at Davis High School. I came here in April 22nd, 2016, so it's been 2 years now. I was born and raised in Iran, but because of my ethnicity, I wasn't able to go to school there. My parents are from Afghanistan, but when they got married, they moved to Iran because of war. I have never had a country to call my own, so when I came here, I thought I could say this is my own country, where I can go to school, work, and be successful, and do other things that I couldn't do in Iran. I am so lucky that I came to Davis High School and joined Language Institute. It helped me a lot learning English, and I am really thankful for it to all my teachers who worked hard to give me this opportunity. But what I'm really thankful and really lucky is that I started school from freshman, so I don't have to worry about my age. How about my friends? I'm here to support them who are over age 18, who are doing great. They are attending to school every day, working hard to have good grades and graduate. If we can have a chance to prove it, we would like to prove it by our grades, awards that we get every quarter. Not only grades are important, but you can talk to our teachers and get to know us more about our behavior. We have been inviting many people from the MCS board, but they have never showed up to see us and to get to know us. The door is still open. If tonight made you realize there is reason to change this policy, come visit us anytime, any day. We are here. And please don't judge us before you get to know us. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. All right. Ayadia Fares? Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Ayat. I am from Syria. I am 18 years old. I am senior at Davis High School. I will be super senior next year. My first goal is to graduate from Davis High School. I have been here for almost 3 years. We moved to United States because the war that destroyed our home, my dad's jobs, and my school. To me personally, I moved to United States to have a better opportunity and a better education because I have a goal to accomplish. My goal is to become an engineer. When I first came to Davis High School, I was a little afraid because of my inability to speak English, but I have been welcomed at Davis, and I felt comfortable that time. Later on, I started to meet some people who spoke my language, and which made me thrilled. Currently, I work hard to learn English and get my grade up. I just hope to graduate from Davis High School. Thank you.
Good luck with that. Great job. All right, Halima Rahimi?
Good evening. My name is Halima. I came from Afghanistan, which have been war like all the time. I don't remember when it's like started. When I came to United States, I was about to turn 18 because of my paperwork said my birthday date is January 1st, but my real birthday is May 8th. I wanted to graduate from high school and be able to get college and reach my goals and be successful, also be helpful for society. I think the age shouldn't be a problem to reach our goals. I need 1 more year. I have been here almost 2 years. My GPA is 4.0. I believe that Nargis Amini should be given an opportunity to attend school instead of us being together in adult school. It is my hope to the next year we are together in Language Institute. Adult school is for students who didn't take advantages of their first high school opportunity. All we are asking for the opportunity to complete our first chance. We just want to get our education, make our families proud and give back to this community. I'm really thankful. I didn't know someone is going to be here to listen our voice. I realized that my name is in a list of students who have to drop out from high school because of age. That's it.
Thank you, Halima. Okay, Rogelio Rodriguez.
Okay. Hello, my name is Rogelio Rodriguez. I am from El Salvador. Voy a dar mi discurso en español porque tengo apenas 6 meses de que llegué aquí a Estados Unidos.
I'm going to give my speech in Spanish because I've been in the United States for 6 months.
Mi motivo por yo haber llegado aquí a Estados Unidos es porque yo necesito superarme, porque en mi país está muy dura la delincuencia, están las pandillas que están a las personas, están muriendo muchos jóvenes, de 17 jóvenes que mueren en el día, de 17 personas que mueren en el día, son 12 las personas jóvenes los que están muriendo.
The reason why I came to this country is because I want to get ahead in life. In the country where I'm from, there's a lot of violence and there's gang-related problems. From 17 people that die every day, 12 are young people.
Yo dejé de estudiar a mis 11 años debido a las pandillas. Ellos querían que yo ingresara a las pandillas y yo no quería desaprovechar mi vida. Yo quiero ser una persona, un ejemplo para la sociedad, que no los miren con malos ojos. Yo quiero ser alguien que me quiero superar y salir adelante. Y a mis 11 años fue truncado mis sueños, que yo quería sacar una carrera y debido a las pandillas ya no pude continuar en la escuela.
I stopped studying when I was 11 years old because of the gang that wanted to recruit me. And I didn't want to waste my life doing that. I want to be an example. So that's why I had to stop studying because of the gangs.
Yo quiero que los den la oportunidad a todos los jóvenes que venimos de otros países para seguir estudiando, porque nosotros queremos superarlo. Yo tengo mi sueño es ser un oficial, un policía para servirle a la sociedad, porque yo quiero ayudar a las demás personas. No quiero ser, y también mi mamá, ella está enferma y ella no puede mirar, entonces yo quiero ayudarla a ella, a que ella pueda ver, porque voy a hacer todo lo que esté a mi alcance para que ella pueda ver, porque es muy duro para mí saber que ella ha perdido la vista y tengo mis hermanos que ellos están pequeños.
I would like that I'm given the opportunity in this country to get ahead in life. I have the dream of becoming a police officer, and I hope that you can help me accomplish my dream. I want to help others, and I have my mom who is very sick. She can't see, and I want to be able to help her with that. I will do everything in my hands to help her. I will work hard because I have also younger siblings.
Quiero que los den esa oportunidad de nosotros, que los den otros 3 años más, así como a mí, porque yo necesito estudiar, no puedo pasar a la universidad o al colegio, porque apenas llegué y no sé nada del inglés y necesito estudiar más para seguir estudiando y poder sacar mi carrera, lo que yo quiero sacar, porque tengo ese sueño. Y si ustedes lo dan esa oportunidad a todos los jóvenes que venimos aquí, es por una mejor vida, por superarlo y salir adelante.
I would like to ask you to give us 3 additional years so I can go ahead and go to college and continue studying. Because if I can't continue studying, I won't be able to get my degree and fulfill my dream. So I ask you to please give us the opportunity for those who come from other countries to fulfill our dreams here.
La escuela Davis los está ayudando mucho, Miss Beer, Miss Herrera, Miss Tim y todos los demás profesores los están ayudando mucho. A ellos los están dando todo el apoyo y necesito que también ustedes los den ese apoyo que nosotros necesitamos para ser grandes personas y el futuro, que nosotros seamos nosotros que estamos ahorita estudiando, seamos el futuro de este país, que podamos servirles para demostrar que nosotros sí podemos superarlos, que no hay barreras para nosotros, que nosotros podemos salir adelante a pesar de las dificultades.
Everybody, Davis has been supporting all of the students who come from other countries. Also, Miss Bird and other professors has been of much support. And I ask you to please let us study so we can get ahead in life and demonstrate that we can be citizens who can. I'm sorry, it's too much.
You're doing
demonstrate
fine.
that we can just fulfill our dreams and give back to this country.
Great. Thank you, Rogelio, for your. Adelan Salinas. Right, another avid student. Good deal.
Hello.
Good evening.
I put it in my phone because I forgot. So. Hi, my name is Adelan Salinas and I'm a student at Davis High. I'm 16 years old and I'm a junior. I came to support my friends and teachers from the Language Institute as a student involved in my community and school. I came to the United States 3 years ago just knowing the basics of English. I was put in the Language Institute and in Route 180. After that, I challenged myself and I put myself in AP classes, the Public Safety Academy, and in leadership. I owe my current and future success to the Language Institute because it works. We had very amazing students before, and and a lot of stories of success because it works. We need that time for those students who need. We need that time for the students who actually want to succeed, because it works and they'll make a great future for America. Thank you.
Samaya Mohamed Soy.
Good evening. My name is Tamaya. I'm from Azerbaijan. I came to the United States 1 year and a half, one and a half year ago. The reason we had to leave my home country was my dad is my dad was a human rights activist in my home country, and he was against the government. So it was my older two of my older siblings were helping him by sharing on the internet his activities and stuff, and they got attacked by a knife, and they were threatened it. And in one night we had to leave my home country, because it was dangerous for us to stay there anymore. And we went to Ukraine, where we'd been moving around in 1 year, so I couldn't continue my education there. So when we got to the United States, I was already 18 years old, and when my parents were told that I wouldn't be able to continue my education in high school, to finish my school, just because I was 18, my parents were very frustrated, because the education is very important in our family. But I'm very grateful to. I'm very grateful for given opportunity to finish my education in Grace Davis High School. I'm here to support the Grace Davis High School Language Institute, and especially I want to say thank you to Miss Bird, Mrs. Herrera, and Miss Villaseñor, who is always there to help, to listen, and to support. And I want to ask you to give a chance to immigrants who's older than 18 years old, to continue their education and to achieve their goals. Thank you.
Great job, students. I really appreciate you just following the rules and sharing with us your experiences. We really enjoy hearing about it. Thank you. The last speaker is Debbie Barrera.
Good evening, Madam President, Acting Superintendent, Mr. Ridiquez, Governing Board. Our voice, our children, the DACA children of all borders. My name is Debbie Barrera. I represent We Are La Raza Parents Union, Social Justice Movement for Student Advocates. We Are La Raza was formed for that reason, the race. We are the race. And even though our children still cannot get that equal opportunity, they tonight demonstrated from foreign borders courage to come up and speak for their education. If we can extend after the age of 18, creating a second chance from a school to prison pipeline, and create a Combat Kid program after their education has been destroyed, why can't we create stay in school program after 18? Especially for our children, which are the English learners, foster care, and low income parents from state and federal prisons that come out for their second chance, that I advocate for. The voice for the voiceless. You heard it today. My mother is 86 years old. She sits in an office and documents these very children. The very children that I speak for, they spoke tonight. We're not talking about the ones that are gang affiliated that you guys classify because they go to school with red and blue on. We're talking about children that want to make a difference in this world, that can't get that second chance. Mr. Lopez, this is where your voice comes in. I worked hard to redirect those lines, along with Advocate for Justice. This is your opportunity, sir, to rise to the occasion and speak for our English learners. That's why you were there. I hope you can bring all of this, be a voice of some sort, and help our English learners. Thank you.
right. I'm going to call for a quick break, a 5-minute recess, and then we'll go ahead and convene with our reports for this evening. Thank you. On break.
as a father.
All right, let's come back together. We have some exciting reports and business to do tonight. So the first item, B1, is our student representative to the board report. And I'd like to turn this over to our capable student representative, Lila Jimenez.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to start off by saying how proud I am of the Davis High students, not only those who came out tonight, but all of those students who are in the Language Institute. I want to pledge my full support of the age increase and would like the opportunity to visit the Language Institute, of course, sometime before my term ends. At our most recent Inter-High Council meeting last week, we've been planning the final stages of the Tournament of Talent. The event will take place on Thursday, May 3rd from 6 to 7:30 at the Thomas Downey High School Auditorium. I hope to see you all there. Again, the event is on Thursday, May 3rd, 6 to 7:30 at Downey High Auditorium. Also, at our Inter-High Council meeting last week, we had the pleasure of having HEART, or the Healthy and Responsible Relationships Troop, present on their organization. Thank you.
All right. And our student representative probably has some exciting news to share. This is an exciting time for our seniors across the district. They get some big envelopes in the mail and exciting emails. So do you have some exciting news?
I do. So Georgetown is one of those schools that likes to be a little harsh with their students, and they send the tiny envelope, but I did get in at Georgetown. That was my first choice. Thank you.
DC bound, huh?
Hopefully. I also got into Duke, so I'm weighing my options. And I got Regents at Cal and UCLA, so there's also that to establish, considering I plan to go to grad school. But my first choice is still Georgetown, so I'm waiting on them.
Great. Good.
Georgetown still have Dixon?
No, I think he graduated.
He graduated.
It's a law school's only 3 years, so good job. Great deal. All right, congratulations. That's a very impressive list. So we are lucky to have such a talented young lady with us for this year. So good luck to you in making such a hard decision. And thank you for the report. Are there any comments or questions from the board regarding the report? Any comments or questions from the audience? Seeing none, then we will go ahead and move on to their. I've been informed by Mr. Burton there's no teachers report, Modesto Teachers Association report tonight, so we'll move on from item B2. And I understand there is no CSEA report tonight as well, so items 2 and 3 have been, we're moving right past. So that takes us to the public hearing regarding the Connecting Waters Central Valley Charter material revision request, and that's item B4. So I'd like to open the public hearing regarding the Connecting Waters Central Valley Charter material revision request, and I turn the matter over to our superintendent, Mr. Redquist.
The board approved the petition to establish the Connecting Waters Central Valley Charter School on February 20th, 2018, authorizing the charter school to operate at 1635 Tully Road and 2000 West Briggsmore Avenue, both within Modesto City Schools boundaries in Modesto. Sherry Nelson, the executive director of Connecting Waters, submitted a material revision request to my office by email dated April 5th, 2018, proposing the following changes to the charter. 1. Revise the charter to allow charter school to use mobile science labs. 2. The addition of a new location at 2300 East Briggsmore in Modesto. 3. The addition of 703 C Street Union City Resource Center in adjacent Alameda County. And 4. The deletion of the charter school board members' term within the charter. In its request, Connecting Waters represents that its plans to purchase and build out a new facility located at 2300 East Briggsmore Avenue in Modesto. And once the new facility is completed and operational, the charter school will discontinue using the existing facilities at 2000 West Briggsmore Avenue and 1635 Tully Road. The board is required to consider whether to approve the material revision request at an open public meeting. The purpose of this public hearing is for the board to hear from charter school representatives about their proposed material revisions to the charter and to hear from the public regarding the proposed changes. Administration and staff will be conducting a detailed review of the material revision request and bring back a recommendation to the Board of Education for action at a future board meeting. So at this time, President Newman, it's time for the public hearing.
All right. So if you want to go ahead and, are there any questions for Mr. Ridquist before we begin with the presentation from the applicant? See none. Go ahead.
Okay,
Ms.
so I think
Nelson. Nice
yes.
to see you
Hello.
again.
It's so good to see you, Superintendent Ridquist, President Newman, and all the board members and the staff. It's so nice to see you all again. As Interim Superintendent Ridquist had said, he stated all the items that we brought before you, so thank you very much. We do have a presentation in regards to our mobile lab, and I think you guys, it looks like you all have that as well. So I think the designer, who designed the mobile lab, and our instructor, teachers, Dan Wyrick, is our science specialist. We'll share.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come here and tell you about what I get to do in the mobile science lab. And I'm just going to go through a few slides here and kind of show you what it is, because I don't think a lot of people really understand what this is. It's a little bit different than other things that happen in this area. If we can get technology to go. Okay, so the Mobile Science Lab is an innovative approach to science education that emphasizes learning the concepts of science through doing science. And as everyone is aware, NGSS has really been pushing for this idea of doing science, not just learning about science. So this vehicle allows that to be accomplished. The Mobile Science Lab travels to a variety of sites and brings science labs close to the homes of students and making it easier for them to access this kind of experience. This isn't a one-time thing. I meet with the students 15 times during the year, basically every 2 weeks. In my classes, I have them for 90 minutes, and it's lab-based. So the classes are structured on that lab, on the labs, which then correlate to the content of the textbooks that I use. The lab is fully equipped, which is pretty hard to believe. It provides high schools with A to G classes in biology, anatomy and physiology, chemistry and physics that are aligned with the appropriate NGSS standards. And as you can see kind of in those pictures, a little bit of what it looks like. Kind of a motorhome type of thing, but has a definite purpose. It's not a typical lounge around type of thing. It's a doing type of lab. Student safety is a big concern in any kind of science lab. So in the design of this thing, it was designed by E&G out of Concord, who designs this type of stuff for government agencies and other type of scientific agencies. So they knew what they were doing. They just had never done anything like what we wanted, which was a van in which we could teach the actual classes in. So in looking at safety, of course, we have fire extinguishers, which you would expect. We have an emergency drench hose, so in case anything gets spilled, we're right there with the water supply. We have a carbon monoxide monitor, a chemical storage cabinet that stores everything safely, a vented exhaust chamber that I can turn on when needed. We have splash guard safety goggles for all the students, disposable student gloves when needed, and disposable student aprons. Also, I go through regularly safety procedures, reminding students who sometimes forget what needs to be done as far as safety is concerned. Okay, the Mobile Science Lab classes are limited to 6 students, ensuring each student a direct hands-on experience. I teach earth science, biology, anatomy and physiology, chemistry, physics, and science exploration and physical science, those 2 being elementary classes. The classes, like I said, are inquiry-based, including data and questions, written lab reports, PowerPoint presentations that the students watch, activity packets. There are a number of projects that the students do, regular quizzes, and a cumulative final at each semester. In biology, this is them working on labs. You can see what I have in there. Gives everybody a close opportunity to work hands-on. Anatomy and physiology, chemistry, physics, and then the elementary classes, science explorations for grades 4 to 6, and Science 8 physical science. An important quote that I like to use a lot is one from Carl Sagan, which says, "It's enormously easier to present in an appealing way the wisdom distilled from centuries of patient and collective interrogation of nature than to detail the messy distillation apparatus. The method of science, as stodgy and grumpy as it may seem, is far more important than the findings of science." The Mobile Science Labs allows us to give that experience to the students, the hands-on, the real world of science. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. You can clap. You can all clap. Anyway, thank you so much, Dan. Just one of our passions that we wanted to share with you. It was something that was, I think you didn't understand, and we had talked about just having the lab and just parking it at our facility. The other thing is, you know, the addition of the 2300 East Briggsmore property, which I mentioned that we went through all of the city permits and the approval, and we're just moving forward on that. Also, the addition of 703 C Street, which you have seen that is legal to have an adjacent, have a learning center in an adjacent area. As you know, this charter will service 8 different counties, 4 of which being, or 2, you have Alameda, Santa Clara, you know, and San Joaquin, Stanislaus are our local areas. So we could possibly have students enroll that live in Alameda or in Santa Clara, and the Learning Center in Union City would be something that they could access more readily than a center in Modesto. And then the other was just a deletion of terminology to provide some flexibility for us in with our bylaws. So that is it. I know we had talked about one other thing, but we'll talk about that later. Are there any questions that anyone has?
All right, Trustee Brown.
Yes, just curious. I drive by the Briggsmore proposed facility all the time, and just hope and wish that that will come about quickly. Do we have an update on timing?
Yes, so we are in the, you know, since we got the go-ahead with BICMAT and various resolutions with our board and consulted our auditor and finance team, and you have all seen that information. So we're ready to move forward. The sellers have been very gracious with us, and so we're moving forward. I actually have the architect here. If you have Dennis Smith, if you'd like to speak to him about anything about timing or whatever of the project itself, but we are ready to move forward and purchase the facility and then start.
So, will there be extensive renovation necessary for you to use that facility?
It seems to take time. You know, it's a. Did you want to say anything to that? I'm trying to get you up here, Dennis. As far as the renovation and extent.
Good evening, Dennis Smith, DL Smith Design Studio. Thank you, Sherry. Yes, there will be extensive renovation of the existing facilities. And in addition to that, a proposed multi-purpose building. We're still working on the actual schedule and timing of all of that. But yes, site will be extensively renovated. Thank you.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes, I just had a quick question on the Mobile Science Lab. With purchasing a new building, why couldn't the science lab be a part of the structure?
Well, the mobile lab itself, in the building itself, as you saw the timeline, we won't be able to move into it until, another year. So for now, we definitely want to use it by the facility that we're currently at. And the new facility, the multi-purpose room will have a lab, but that's down the road. So it is something that we want to use and have our students now.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Right. Anyone else? I had one question about the mobile lab. Mr. Wyrick, when he gave his report, and thank you for the pictures and everything, it does help understand what you guys are doing. He mentioned that the lab drives to people's homes, and
No,
but in the application, it's going to be used only at the school resource centers, right?
Correct.
Okay.
He's saying that he can take the lab to people, not necessarily their homes, but for our purposes, it will only be at the facility.
Until the facility is ready with the on-site lab facility.
There will be an on-site lab, but if there's a need for an additional lab, we'll have it available.
Great. All right. Are there any other questions of the board for the applicant? All right. Are there any questions or comments from the public? All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Nelson.
You're welcome.
Ms. Barrera.
Debbie Barrera, parent advocate. I just want to support Mrs. Nelson because as a community activist, I'm not just in this district, I'm in 13 districts, school sites. And so a lot of parents aren't satisfied, as you saw tonight. And so that extra alternative to have their child still in the school settings, I have taken some students over to Clearwater, and it's a tremendous alternative other than the pipeline alternatives. And so I just want to support, as community, this charter school. Thank you.
Anyone else in the public? All right. It comes back to the board now. We aren't taking action at this time. Oh, Ms. Williams. Good evening.
Good evening. I have been very impressed with Connecting Waters. It's a program that is a good, positive alternative for students who are not successful in the classroom. And I'm really thankful to see that we have something like this that can help students who need an alternative, because everybody, let's face it, is not set up to be in a classroom setting. And this is a great opportunity for our students to still achieve and to be able to go to college. And the track record is there to show that these students are making significant growth as an alternative for those who are not able to make it in public school. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Anyone else in the public wishing to speak on this matter, the public hearing? Does our council have anything to weigh in on this, or are we? Thank you, Mr. Schultz. All right, and then it comes back to the board. We aren't taking action at this time, but this is just a public hearing to basically look at the revision and to hold the public hearing. And so, are there any other questions or comments from the board? All right, seeing none, I'm going to. Oh, yes, Trustee Brown.
So I'm assuming that we're going to take action at a future meeting. Is that correct?
We have the public hearing first, and then we would take action at a future hearing.
Thank you.
And any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and reconvene our board meeting, and we're going to move on to item B5. Thank you so much for coming tonight. This is the report on foster youth in Modesto City Schools. And I'd like to turn it over to our superintendent, Mr. Ridquist.
Associate Superintendent Mack will introduce this item.
Good evening. Beginning 2016-17, Modesto City Schools applied LCAP funds to support foster youth students through the implementation of a foster youth specialist. Tonight, Senior Director Mike Coates will report on how our foster youth students are doing in English language arts, math, suspensions, expulsions, and the supports MCS is providing for their success.
Good evening, Board President Newman, Interim Superintendent Ridquist, trustees, and cabinet. Thank you for the opportunity to present. This report is in response to a request by the board. Modesto City Schools provides additional support for foster children that may struggle with the effects of displacement from their family, schools, and multiple placements in foster care. The California legislature took a step forward to improve the educational outcomes for foster youth when it identified the foster youth as an at-risk population. Foster students in California experience much higher rates of school instability than other students. The data in California shows that 1/3 attend 2 or more schools during a single school year. Just 19% of students in foster care score proficient or above in English language arts on the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, or CASP. 12% of the students score proficient or higher on the math portion of the CASP. Foster students have the highest dropout rates and the lowest graduation rates, with the single-year dropout rate at 8%, and 58% of students in foster care graduate from high schools in California. Under the local control funding formula, the term foster youth includes any child who is the subject of a juvenile dependency court petition. This includes youth who have been placed in foster homes, relative homes, or in group homes. Foster youth are provided educational rights regarding immediate school enrollment, their school of origin, partial credits, and graduation. And each foster youth has a court-appointed 3 designee team of the educational rights holder, the child welfare agency social worker, and an attorney. Assembly Bill 216 clarified an earlier Assembly Bill 167, which allows foster children to graduate from high school by only completing the state graduation requirements if they transferred schools after completing their second year of high school. AB 167 was seen as a possible solution to the high school dropout rates of foster youth who repeatedly transferred between schools and struggled to earn the credits needed for graduation. Modesto City Schools has identified 9 students this year that meet the AB 167-216 graduation requirements, and foster youth graduation plans have been approved for these students. Currently, as of March 23rd of this year, Modesto City Schools services 123 foster youth. And you can see there in the chart, 57 of those are at the elementary age, 13 in junior high school, 53 in high school. About half of the students in Modesto City Schools, currently 49%, are on track for graduation with no remediation needed. So you see there at freshman year, about 83% of them are on track. It drops off significantly in that sophomore year, but then by the time they get back to senior, 52.6% of them are on track to graduate. That is kind of a typical pattern, although the number is a little extreme from what happens with the typical sophomore year is the kind of the challenge year. And you see the data with the grade point averages there as well, that sophomore year is where the grades drop and then they're able to remediate and get back on track for graduation. It is interesting to note that of the 46% of the students that are not on track, they do have a reasonable opportunity to graduate in 4 years by only attending summer school. So although 49% of them are on track, another 46% are only behind by 2 courses or what they could earn in summer school. Many foster students receive additional supports through special education. 30% of the foster youth in Modesto City Schools are special education students. And you can see from the chart there that most of the foster youth are EO, or English only students, with 10% of them being English learners. In Modesto City Schools, on the Smarter Balanced Assessment for the years of 2015-16 and 16-17, 31% met or exceeded the standards in English language arts. This chart shows the number of students that did not meet or nearly met or exceeded standards on the ELA assessment for those 2 school years, with yellow bars being the elementary students, the orange bars being junior high students and the gray bar being high school students. This is a similar data for the same 2 years for students in math on the Smarter Balance Assessment, and only 4% met the standard. There has been an overall decline over the past 4 years in the number of foster youth that have been suspended, from 38 in 14-15 to 24 currently this year as of the end of the third quarter. And over the past 4 years, there have been 0 expulsions of foster youth. Modesto City Schools recognizes the needs of our foster youth. And beginning in 2016-17, we hired a foster youth specialist using the LCAP funds. Stephanie Arona, and I'd like to introduce Stephanie to you tonight. Stephanie Arona is our foster youth specialist. She is a teacher on special assignment. She provides direct services to these students, and I'm the district foster youth liaison. As the district foster youth liaison and foster youth specialist, we ensure that the students receive the supports and services that are allotted to them through the law regarding foster youth. The foster youth specialist collaborates with school staff and appropriate foster youth agencies to research their academic history and develop academic plans and achievement plans. The foster youth specialist provides technical support to the school. She provides professional development and works in partnership with foster youth agencies and staff to meet the needs of the youth. Support services are coordinated to ensure that they receive the services they need, including things like school lunches and transportation. The foster youth specialist collaborates with the foster youth court-appointed team, and educational plans and graduation options are considered, including the eligibility for the AB 167-215 graduation plans that we discussed. The foster youth specialist participates in student study teams or student success teams, IEPs, individualized educational programs, 504 meetings, counseling meetings, and other meetings necessary at the school. She works directly to meet those needs of the students, working directly with the students. Through establishing, supporting, and nurturing relationships, the foster youth specialist assists foster youth in dealing with a variety of needs, their academic needs, their educational needs, and she builds their trust, most importantly, providing encouragement and motivation for these students to encourage them that they can be graduates from Modesto City Schools. The district is proud of the increase in services that we are providing using our LCAP funds with the implementation of the foster youth specialist. We are committed to continuing to provide support and attention on the educational outcomes for our foster youth. This concludes our report. Stephanie and I, as well as Melanie McCleary, Director of State and Federal Programs, are available to answer questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Coates. Are there any questions from board members? I'm seeing a light from Trustee Brown and then Trustee Marks.
I want to thank you for that report, and especially thank you for the progress that we're seeing. My heart goes out to these kids as we realize what challenges they face on a daily basis. Feelings of rejection and not having the confidence that most children receive support at home for. Since I've been on the board, I've noticed and I've listened carefully as I've heard success stories from people who have been through the foster system, and I know that there's a lot of great people in our community who have survived and done well and thrived. And I'm just curious if there isn't a special mentoring program that we as a district could adopt that would allow some of those folks to step in and be a support group for our foster kids, whether that be in the way of assemblies or some group programs or one-on-one participation with these students, because we know that a success story carries a lot of weight and allows people to see that there is an opportunity for even them. So I would encourage us to look for opportunities for special mentoring for our foster kids. Another question that I have, we heard this evening from a number of students from Davis High School talking to us about this age issue and super seniors and possibility of extending education. do we have any stories or any situations where our foster kids are given the opportunity, because they're showing progress, to continue and thrive for additional time in our school system?
We do have 9 students that have been identified this school year that meet that AB 167-215 requirement. That requirement by law is that foster students that change schools after completion of their sophomore year, and they do not have a reasonable opportunity to graduate within 4 years, are given a 5th year to meet those local requirements at the comprehensive high schools. They also have another option that if they're not reasonably able to meet the local requirements, that they may graduate within the 4 years by meeting the minimum state requirements.
Trustee Marks.
This was great. Thank you for doing this. I know I asked for it a while ago, and I was so happy to see it on the agenda. So thank you so much for putting it on. I wanted to ask, do we know why we have such a significant drop from 9th to 10th grade? I know we have that little bump with our other students too, but this seems much more dramatic just when I look at it, when their progress towards graduation. So I know they start to make up some of it by the time they get to 12th grade, but they're still pretty far behind. So have we identified a why?
Well, there are a lot of reasons, I believe, why freshmen might get off track. First of all, if they fail more than one class, then we consider them off track. And so we do have a significant number, unfortunately, of freshmen that might fail more than one class within that first semester, or 2 classes by the end of their freshman year. So it doesn't take a lot to be considered off track. On the other hand, these are students that are coming from a variety of backgrounds and needs and different types of schooling or limited schooling. And coming into high school can be a big adjustment for all students. We know when we meet with 8th grade parents, they're quite concerned about students coming into high school and the experiences they might have dealing with the older students. And so these students are compounded, I think, with those problems. And then one of the big issues is their mobility. Right. Moving from school to school, moving from family to family, and having a lot of instability in their lives.
So do we, because I've had someone come and speak on a program in Sacramento that was very successful with their foster youth, but I understood that one of the key things that they were working on was to help them stay at the same school site even if they moved homes. So do we do that?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's good, because I knew that stability and keeping their same teachers and friends was really helpful for them for success. And then, are we sharing information with the county? Have we been able to cross that? Because I remember I called the county. I knew someone that worked there, and I was trying to see a few years ago how we could share information, but at that time it was a little more difficult. So are we able to share information so that we can give them all the services that they need?
Yes, Stephanie and I both participate with the county and attend some meetings there, their project graduation meetings, where we talk about the foster youth, and then Stephanie is able through the data system to track the students, and that's part of what she does to make sure the educational rights holder and the attorney and the social worker and all that is coordinated. So yes, we do work to ensure those not only within our county, but students that come from other counties or leave our county to go to other counties. And so on your first part of the question, yes, we not only, once they come within our schools, but it even protects the student from their feeder school and the typical pathway that a student would go. If they change schools, they have the right to attend schools based on their feeder school attendance areas as well.
Okay. Yeah, I know. As long as they have some stability, I know it helps them do much better. So this is great. I'm pleased to see, the numbers and just and know exactly how many students we have, because I know we had about 500 in our county. I just didn't know how many we had in Modesto City Schools. So that's really helpful to know. And then how many are also in special ed, which is a significant amount of students in special ed. So this is great. So next year, can we get an update on how we're doing with them and how they've made progress? Because I know we're making some great progress, because obviously if they have somebody to advocate for them and be a liaison, that's going to change their outcomes, because they know, the parents know where to go. I would believe that they'd come to you, Stephanie, and actually those that are more involved in the students that are living in their home and get involved in them. But just to be able to ensure that they are able to know about the college opportunities that they could have, the other support services, anything that's available to them. Because anyway, I have a friend who works with foster youth. She's with CASA, and so she's the court-appointed special, whatever, I can't remember what it stands for. But anyway, it's CASA. But I know she goes before the judge and is able to advocate on the child's behalf in certain situations. So, but just being able to have that information, I know is really helpful. Well, thank you. This is great. I'm hopeful in where our foster youth are going to go and just how we're going to meet their needs even in a greater way. So thanks for sharing.
We do have some great success stories this year of our students that are going to be graduating.
Oh, good. Oh, I wish I could hear one tonight, but that's okay. Sometime we'll have to have some of them come back and share. It would be great to hear them. So thank you.
Trustee Walker.
Okay, so I only have to pick up because it already got handled by the two other trustees. The question I had was on the graduation, and we talk about the success rate. When you say no remediation and sort of making it up in summer school, are we talking about graduating the state requirements or Modesto City school requirements? Because there's a fairly large gap between those two things.
That data that I provided you is to meet the Modesto City schools. So we have 49% on track for the 230 diploma.
Outstanding, because that's a much higher bar than what the state really requires, and is much more encouraging. And then you mentioned the county, and I would think, and I don't know what Supervisor Olson is doing, but I know that this is an issue very close to her heart. And she had said she was working on it, so you've mentioned you're working with the county, which means she's watching, which hopefully is a good thing, because she's been on this issue for many, many years now, and has a great deal of experience, certainly from the legislative level, and now back here, that if there's opportunities to partner up, that would certainly be a place I would go fishing.
I had a question about in order for us to help them, we have to identify these students. And so what is the process of identifying the foster youth? Is that self-reported when we enroll, or are we given a number from another agency? How does that happen?
We are given, they have what's the form, Stephanie, that comes with the kids?
Well, it's a foster youth information.
Go ahead and you can explain that.
Good evening, Mr. Arona. How are you?
Good. Nice to see you all. So far as how we identify our foster youth, it can come to us in different ways. One way is if a school contacts me and says, we have a foster youth and I have a paper here. My job is to confirm the eligibility, make sure that student is a foster youth. So what I do is contact the social worker. So right there we create a relationship. And then when I contact that social worker, I identify their attorney as well as their education rights holder, which is a key player in making those education decisions, as well as compiling the information if we want to move forward with an IEP and SST, or even the AB 167-216 meetings for a foster youth graduation. And then CalPads, we also rely heavily on that. In fact, I do a cross match with our MOSIS as well as CalPads and kind of see what's matching, what's not matching. And then my job is to research where that student is coming from and if that student is a foster youth. The other resource I've been using that the county has been supporting is Foster Focus. Foster Focus is another opportunity to have that another glance at who the social worker is that can keep the ball rolling, and I can identify them quicker and faster for the sites so we can move forward, because we do have the law where we need to move forward with 30 days if it's 11th or 12th grader to be eligible for that graduation. We don't want to waste their time, and they do have options. So
great. All right. My second question is, okay, so we have to it's important for us to identify them, but it's also important for us to work with our staff. Is our staff, the rest of our staff, our teachers, our clerical staff particularly at all of our sites, are they aware you exist and are there to help them? Because that's like another key component of this. We need to identify them, but we need to also know that our staff knows you exist. So.
Yeah, Stephanie has presented to the assistant principals for pupil services, and she's also attended the counseling meetings to talk with the counselors about the services that we provide. And the schools know that if there's a foster youth that's involved in a 504 plan or an IEP, that they should be contacting Stephanie so that she can participate in those meetings.
Great. All right. Thank
Thank you. All right, that answers my key
The
question.
form I was trying to think of is the JV 535, which is the form we get from the courts that identify that the student has been placed in our district.
Okay, great. All right. Are there any other questions for our staff of the board? All right, then I'd like to open it up to the audience if there are any questions or comments on this report. Ms. Barrera?
Debbie Barrera from Advocate for Justice and We're La Raza Parents Union. I'm going to take this one personal. Thank you, Mrs. Marks, because I do foster care. My Isaiah was my last foster care child that was supposed to graduate from this district. Unfortunately, I'm not going to entertain what happened to him. I am glad now that we have Stephanie, because I did not have nobody when I started this journey. I stood before this governing board in 2012-13, alone, scared for mine that I didn't even bore, but I bore the responsibility of him to make sure that he got his education. So I'm glad, I'm ecstatic that Modesto City Schools, by way of our governing board, is paying attention to at least my voice, not community's voice, because I needed help at the time when I was fostering. I am now a surrogate parent for the IEPs, 504s. I have a classification there, so if you need me, Mr. Brown, you're on target. We need special mentors for these children. Their parents are incarcerated. Their parents are on the streets. By way of Victory Outreach, a ministry that teaches those families to put down their knives and guns and pick up a Bible, pick up a school book, pick up an application. Together we can get these children back on track. And I thank you guys, all of you. I may come across harsh. Look at my audience. But I'm taking this one personal because I did not have at the time when I needed for my foster youth. So thank you. I have a question because Mr. Mike Coates, nothing against the past. Thank you for your future. But I want to know, to establish support and a nurturing relationship, I had to go to Gaza because I had no one here. What does that look like here for our foster moms, our foster grandmas, our foster aunts? What does that look like? Can somebody explain how you establish the home base that's not really a home for these children? That's a question. What does it look like? What does nurturing relationships look like to the community of those parents who foster?
Okay.
That's the question.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there, Ms. Mack, would you like to answer that, or would someone be able to answer that right now? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Serona is going to answer your question. Thank you.
I hate having my back to you, but
unfortunately, we have to address the board.
I know.
It's okay. I'll stand. It's an awkward thing. She asked a question, but you have to address the answer.
I know.
to us.
Okay, this is my first rodeo. Thank you. So let me explain. My opportunity, my nurturing that comes forth is that I identify all our foster youth. And on that note, I roll out to every site, every administrator, I should say vice assistant principal of pupil and personnel services, and I give them the list of the students that have been identified. My job is I get to meet with them. It's my favorite part of the job. I sit down with them. I do an intake interview. The intake interview is like, are you receiving lunch? Are you receiving breakfast? Do you have the supplies you need to get started? Do you need a backpack? It could be, we talk about, what do you want to do down the future? Do you want to go college? Do you want to go career? What are we thinking about? So we set goals, and it's very brief, but I guarantee that I'm there the next month. I'm there every month, and my job is to make sure that when I walk through the door, they open their eyes and like, oh, it's Mrs. Arona or this Stephanie. It goes either way. I'll accept it. But the bottom line is, my relationships that I build with those students, I take it very personally. They go home with me in my heart, and I leave with them on my heart, so they have a lasting impression. So my job is just really to connect with those students. It's really a wonderful opportunity because you would not imagine the grief and the hardships these students have faced. So my connection and nurturing comes towards the children, not so much the foster parents, but the foster parents always have that right to contact me if they have questions. But I just want them to know that they have someone to connect with. If they want to try out for sports, I will look what I can do and meet with that athletic director. If they want to go to college, or if they're looking at the Chafee Grant, which is a foster youth grant that's provided $2,500 each semester, up to $5,000 a year, we'll look into that. I reach out to the people, those designated people that will support them. So my job never stops. I go to bed thinking, okay, who do I need to contact tomorrow? So the whole thing is I just want to keep this revolving door open, that even though a student has left, again, 17 placements in 4 years, he's off to another school. And it's just how it goes sometimes for them. Our job is to just be supportive. And I have to say, Modesto City Schools, the high schools I visited, Elliott, the junior highs, the principals, assistant principals, the people that I'm in contact with are welcoming with open arms. I always feel like I'm just part of their team. And I do appreciate that, and I think they should be recognized that we are a team, and we want the best for our students, especially with this outcome, this student group. So, does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Basically, in a nutshell, she's doing my job, voice for the voiceless. Thank you, Stephanie.
All right. Miss Williams.
You know, I was looking at the scores, the suspensions for 2016, 2017, and we had 50. And then in 2017, 2018, it drops to one below half, which is really a good thing. But I'm also wondering how many of these 24 in the data were previous offenders from last year, or if they're new situations or what. I think that would be significant data to know. Also, I would like to see a breakdown by ethnic group as well. We have foster kids and we have them all lumped together, but we don't know what the backgrounds of these students are. We don't know how many of these students are coming from homes where the parents are incarcerated, which is a very significant detail that we need to know in order to see what we can do to help these students. Now, I've been in touch with Mrs. Brady, and she has a program for our foster kids who are incarcerated, and I'd like to see us look into having that program in Modesto. Empire has implemented it with her. Sylvan has implemented it with her. And I think Hard Ransom is starting it this year, this next coming year. So they're in the works of getting it. And that's something that we could really use here, because I know some of these students are coming from incarceration. So those are some things that I want us to really look at. The other significant thing is the more of these students that we can keep in one home base, the greater their chances are of graduating. Every time a student transfers to another school, that minimizes their potential for graduation. And we've got that LCAP money. We have funding where we transport pregnant moms, and we keep them, and moms who are teen moms, we keep them all in one spot. Why can we not do that for our foster students as well, so that we can help to increase their chances of graduation, give them some stability? You know, sometimes school is the only stability for some of our kids, and it's the only place where they really feel where they have a sense of belonging. And if we can keep that continuity, that gives them even more of that sense of feeling that I have a place where I belong. I have a place where people care about me. And so I think that that's one of the things that we really need to reach out and look at. And then again, I'm going to express the same thing that you and Mrs. Barrera has been saying. We need to have that mentor program. We need to step up and be mentors to these students and help them, because one person can't do it alone. And so it's going to take a village to help these students be successful. These are important people, and we don't want to forget them. So we need to work on that. And like I say, I would really like some more data on these suspensions, because I think that that's a real important thing that we need to know, and the ethnic groups. Thank you.
Can I take a crack at that?
Anyone else? We'll come back to the board for comment. Anyone else in the public?
Well, you know, I forgot to tell you too, there is a new bill in process to
Come on up to the microphone.
There is a bill in the works right now to finance our students in foster care till age 20. Right now, the only students that we finance after 18 are teen moms and pregnant moms. And so there is a new bill to finance all of our foster kids until age 20. So that's one of the things that we really need to look forward to and support.
All right. Any other comments from the public? All right. Seeing none, we'll come back to the board for comment. Trustee Walker.
What? Take a crack at Mrs. Williams' question only because I've spent a great deal of time in the last 5 or 6 weeks looking specifically at suspension data across California and specifically Modesto City Schools. And I looked at the foster children data, and it is actually interesting because it is not far from being correlated to the homeless student data. But they don't break it down by race subgroup there unless it's something somebody else is keeping. We can go look at groups, Hispanic, African American, white, Asian, the regular groups, but when it breaks into the homeless category or the foster student category, it doesn't sub-aggregate. And I'm guessing, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, that because it's such a small group, once we put those two pieces together, we've just about lost student privacy. And it would almost be like saying if I knew left-handed, a school site, foster child suspended, you'd be able to identify that student. But I have your card. I will send you some of the data that I've drilled up because I also think that everything I've looked at says that when it comes back to looking at unduplicated suspension counts in this district are phenomenally low now. There's been an amazing transition there. But I will send you what I've got because I was looking at this last week. But I think the answer is privacy.
Any other comments from the board? All right. I just want to say I've had the opportunity when I was working in my son's classes over the years. I met a few of these students, and these numbers show some trouble with academic achievement. But I want to remind the board and everyone that some of these kids are just really, really bright and amazingly capable. And so I'm so glad that the approach we've taken, I think it's great that Ms. Arona is meeting with them on a monthly basis. I think it's what they need. They want to tell their story. They want to talk. They want someone who believes in them. And they're so capable. So many of them are so capable. And I had the privilege of getting to meet a few. And so I think this is really exciting what we're doing. I think these numbers, when we look at it again, are going to look better as we do this. So I appreciate the report. Thank you very much. All right, that takes us on to, that's not an action item, so we'll move on to item B6. And this is approval of plans to assign reserves, and I'd like to turn the matter over to Superintendent Ridquist.
Associate Superintendent Zerley will make the presentation.
Thank you, President Newman, trustees. We're asking the board for approval of plans to assign reserves for 2018-19, and it says approval of plans because some we know now and some we don't. This is an annual procedural request that comes from the business office to assign reserves in the ending fund balance. These are items that are not budgeted, so there's not an expense account for these items, but they're assigned in the reserves for future use. And so it decreases the amount of funds available in the unassigned ending fund balance. These are currently a list of approved reserves as of second interim, but again, this is a procedural request. We're asking for the board approval for the budget development for 2018-19. We're asking for the minimum district reserve to be 3%. Again, this is the minimum requirement. We have a much higher ending fund balance than this as we go through the summer and close the books and present the unaudited actuals. We have a much higher fund balance than 3%, but this is the minimum. This is the minimum requirement that we must keep for a district our size. The LCAP Supplemental and Concentration Grant, these are growth funds. Right now, we're trying to determine, based on the governor's proposal, how much growth is not only in the base grant, but in the Supplemental and Concentration Grant funds. So we set this aside in the ending fund balance until the LCAP is approved, until the total LCAP is approved. Then we have an expenditure for those amounts. Carryover, again, these are items that go through a request process as we go through the summer and close the books. Managers ask for items to be carried over for various reasons. Some are approved and some aren't. And these are reserved in our ending fund balance until some point in time when they're spent in the prior fiscal year. So again, we're asking the board to approve the plans to assign reserves for 2018-19 ending fund balance.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Zierli? Seeing none. Are there any questions from the public or comments? Seeing none, I will come back to the board for comment. And all right, I'm looking for a motion then. It's been moved by Trustee Grembo and seconded by Trustee Brown, and it is a preferential student vote. Okay, so all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the motion passes unanimously. All right, this takes us on to item B7, approval to transfer general fund reserves to the other reserve funds for the 2018-2019 fiscal year. I'd like to turn this matter over to Mr. Ridquist.
Associate Superintendent Zerly will also present this item.
Thank you. Again, this is a procedural request of the board that will be built into the 2018-19 budget development. This is a little different than the prior one. These are transfers out of the general fund, so these are actual budgeted expenditures. These will show up as an expenditure line, so it will already reduce the ending fund balance for the general fund. The prior action, that took the dollars in the ending fund balance, and then we reserved those amounts, but this is an actual expenditure. These are actual transfers out of the general fund to another fund for various purposes. And then the first one is the $5 million transfer, annual transfer for facility maintenance to Fund 14, which is the Deferred Maintenance Fund. We had discussion about this in February, and I apologize for prior to 17-18, these funds were actually held in the general fund, so you didn't see a transfer out. Now you're seeing a transfer out. We put it in its own fund, a facility maintenance fund, Fund 14. So there is a request to transfer the funds. It is there, Trustee Brown. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. This was a question asked that we didn't really have a good answer for at the last meeting. Then we have also at the last, when we brought in February the budget assumptions, we asked the board to approve the $1 million transfer to Special Reserve Fund for curriculum delivery from $1 million to $2.5 million to meet the needs of our curriculum demand for the coming years. And then the other fund, and then you can see the other transfers that are already approved down below, the bullets down below. The last bullet, emergency facility needs. This is not an additional $2 million that we transfer, so it's not a total of $7 million. This is, as we use it, as we have emergency needs throughout the year. Say if we have $500,000 of emergency needs we have to pull from, we will replenish this back to $2 million. So this varies. It's not necessarily a $2 million. We just keep a $2 million fund balance in that special reserve fund. And then one other change we've talked about or we're asking the board to approve is the special reserve fund for bus replacement. We're asking to go from the $450,000 annually to $540,000 due to athletic league realignment for next year. We're going to have a greater demand on athletic transportation, and so we need to increase our fleet size for next year to meet the demand of traveling outside of our boundaries for athletic competition for next year. So we are asking the board to approve the transfer of general fund items to other funds as noted.
Right. Are there any questions for Mr. Zierli? Trustee Brown?
Yes, that the bus fund caused me some questions, and I know that we struggle with a shortage of bus drivers. And how do we meet this increasing demand if we have more buses but we don't have more drivers?
Yeah, I'm pleased to report that right now, today, I believe we have 3 vacancies, and then we have that many that are soon to be sent to CHP to be certified. So we've really focused on a training program this year, and we expect going into next year to maybe not have any vacancies in our department, and we have a substantial pool now to have substitutes cover for the trip drivers. We have established trip drivers that would take these athletic field trip assignments. So we have enough pool of substitutes at the moment to backfill and cover their routes when they're on the field trips.
Well, thank you. I know that's not actually part of the reserve question, but something that deserves a lot of credit for great improvement in that regard. So thank you for the extra efforts, and thank you for the success that we're seeing there.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Mr. Zierli? I had one, and we spoke on the phone today about Wilson. That the Wilson school site, that we had that as a transfer over and a line item, and then when we did Burbank, it ate through what we had budgeted for that. So is this the time where we would add a line item for Wilson, or would this be something we would do later?
So I've asked staff after that request. Staff is working with the architect to put together a conceptual design for a cafeteria, a replacement cafeteria for the board to review in addition to a project cost estimate. So I don't think this is the exact time to put that in here because we don't have a good idea on the project at this moment. We hope to have that in the next couple of weeks. We do have a potential board workshop for budget development planned at the beginning of May, and at that point in time, once we provide the board with a conceptual design and a project cost estimate, then per the board's direction, we can make this. Anything can be added between now and when the board approves the budget, the adopted budget. I believe it's June 25th, so we have time to do that.
Great. All right. And are there any other questions of the board? Seeing none. All right. Are there any questions of the public? Anyone? All right. Let's come back to the board for comment. Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move.
All right. It's been moved by Trustee West and seconded by Trustee Walker. And the student preferential vote? Aye. All right. So all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. All right. This takes us to item B8. And this is, again, I turn the item over to Superintendent Ridquist.
Mr. Henderson will make this presentation.
Good evening, trustees. Bringing forward item B8, which is recommending approval for a resolution authorizing reduction and or elimination of classified services. This is for the 2018-19 school year. And anytime we have to take such action, that of course needs to come before the board for its approval. And we do so under 2 circumstances: identified lack of funds for continued service or a lack of work for that continued service for the following year. We've, in terms of process, we've met district representatives with CSEA representatives on 2 occasions. First, to review the initial proposed list of proposed reductions or eliminations, and then after that to review that list again and conduct a vote. That last meeting occurred on March 23rd, 2018, in order to meet the required timelines. You have attached, following the resolution, a list of positions that are part of this resolution, and there does have to be a change to that list. We were notified after the printing of the agenda item. Some good news that the last 5, 6 items on the list identified as the lead child care provider, assistant, and 5 assistant child care providers at a school site. It was determined in time before this meeting that there was enough enrollment and interest in those programs that we would rescind the layoffs for those 6 positions, the lead and the 5 assistant child care provider positions. With the remaining 21 positions, 5 are a result of reclassification process, and so they were positions that were reclassified, and those are vacant. And in total, from those 21 minus the 5, the remaining 16, there were 2 that are on the list for reduction in hours, and the remaining 5 that are actually occupied with individuals, and the remainder, other than the 5, are vacant positions. So that we're bringing forward, and we'll continue with the process following tonight's board action to do everything we can to ensure that for those people who have certain rights within the district for other positions, that we ensure that those are made available. So in summary, it's recommended that the board approve the resolution. It's number 17/18-19, authorizing this reduction and or elimination of classified services for the 18-19 school year.
All right, are there any questions for Mr. Henderson? All right, seeing no lights, are there any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, it'll come back to the board for motion. Yes, Trustee Brown.
I just want to thank the district for the compassion that's shown to the individuals in each of these positions. I can support this kind of action because I know that the history of making sure that our dedicated employees are not forced out of work, but they're given opportunities for reassignment. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it.
I will move for a motion to accept this.
All right, the motion's been made by Trustee Brown. Is there a second? All right, Trustee Grembo has seconded the motion. And the student, I think it's a personnel matter, so I don't think we get a student preferential vote. So all those in favor?
It's a resolution, I believe.
That's right. So,
Trustee
go ahead, call the roll.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Grenbo.
Aye.
Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Marks.
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Trustee West.
Aye.
President Newman.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right. And Trustee Brown, you didn't have a question, I think. Okay, good deal. I saw the light, so I wanted to make sure. All right. Okay. This takes us to item B9, which is the approval resolution 1718-20, supporting school safety. In light of recent school violence incidents in our country, we've several of us have asked for a board resolution that the CSBA had prepared. Superintendent Ridquist, would you like to announce anything on this, or?
Just that, as you noted, there were a couple of trustees that said they wanted to bring something forward.
Yes.
So we reviewed the CSBA and prepared the resolution for consideration tonight.
All right. So I'm passing that out now. This was given to me by Trustee Brown. And this is in conjunction with Trustee Lopez. So I'll give you guys a minute to read it. Trustee Brown, would you like to explain what you wanted to put forward, or Trustee Lopez? In addition to the proposed resolution?
Yes, I felt that the first revision of this resolution was not giving the recent events as much importance, and I know that everything that was said was here on truth, but I think that we need to put this as an inclusive matter to the stress and trauma that has plagued our nation, and even here in Modesto over the recent events. We need to make sure that we address and that we assure our families and students that we're with them, and that we're supportive we're supportive and we're sympathetic of their fears and due to the recent events.
Trustee Brown?
So Trustee Lopez and I did discuss this matter, and I put together this language that I felt did address the feelings and the anxiety that our students are feeling through this process. And just adding some simple language, I think, would make this more than a document, but an acknowledgement of what our students are facing and the fears and anxieties that we need to address and be aware of. So if I may, I'd like to just read what the proposed change is so that the public is aware of that as well.
And explain, if you could, exactly where they're going to fall in.
So if you have the resolution document, there are numerous paragraphs, and I'm suggesting that we add a paragraph following the existing third paragraph. Oh, good.
That's the original. Here's the change language.
I think we had extra copies, didn't we?
There's two right here.
Yeah.
In that case, we just.
I was remembering when we had the little screen that,
We don't have that Elmo.
All right, no worries. Did E for effort.
So, okay, so it's not going to go on the screen, so I'll verbally share with you what I'm recommending. So I'm suggesting that after paragraph 3, we add a statement that says, whereas recent tragic events throughout our nation have disrupted otherwise peaceful school settings, resulting in the loss of lives for both students and school staff members, and causing immeasurable distress and fear among students, families, and staff throughout Modesto City Schools and elsewhere. So that's a new paragraph. And then I'm also proposing that we alter the fourth paragraph to read, whereas even though the loss of a single life is unacceptable and school shootings are tragedies that affect the whole society, Modesto City Schools does not wish in any way to minimize their emotional and psychological impact on students, their families, and staff members. School shootings remain a relatively small percentage of the overall homicide rate affecting school-aged children, and carry over to the next paragraph. So I would propose that we include this language in the resolution to acknowledge the emotional impact that these events are having on our students, our staff, and the families of our students and the families of our staff.
Okay. So so the fourth paragraph there, are we deleting the fourth paragraph that's in existing resolution and replacing it with the number 2 here that you've?
That is correct.
Yeah,
So
I think it reads better if we do if your suggestion is delete what is in the proposed on B9-1, paragraph 4. Well, that's paragraph 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
that is the fourth one.
it's the fourth one.
Yeah, it's replacing paragraph 4.
It's the current 4 becomes number
Okay.
5 with the if you insert another paragraph.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
You would be adding number 1 and replacing our amended 2
Okay.
for the fourth paragraph.
Okay.
16.
Are there any comments on the suggested revision? Trustee Marks?
I support your additions and the way you stated them with just a minor changes. So I know with resolutions, they last a long time. So whenever we use a time like recent, or that doesn't always flow well for resolutions. So my only change would be in your statement would be to delete the word recent and just say, whereas tragic events throughout our nation disrupt otherwise peaceful school settings, and leave it all the same. So just taking out the word recent and changing it from have disrupted. Is that amenable for you? Okay. Thank you. I do support what you're saying, so thank you.
Trustee Walker?
And I think that it's interesting you picked up on that, because what we originally submitted from CSBA as a draft resolution was much longer, much more in depth, and probably was 3 more pages longer. And Chrissy went and found a more truncated version. And I think what you just picked up on were 1 or 2 of the pieces that came out of the original one that was more like a tome versus a resolution. So I would agree and concur. And it ends up sort of, we started with a much bigger one, came back smaller, and now we've added back the 2 pieces that I think should have been there.
All right. Any other comments from the board or questions for adding these provisions to the proposed resolution? All right. Any comments from the public?
I would like to thank you for coming up with the resolution. I think this is something that is absolutely needed for our parents and students and staff to know that there's empathy for their panic and their frustrations and their concerns that they're having. I would also ask that you consider that making Friday known that this is National Stamp Out Gun Violence Day, and it's the day to wear orange, and encourage people to wear their orange on Friday. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? All right, then we'll take it back to the board for comment and then action. Trustee Brown?
Just a question, how will this resolution be shared with the public? Very few people will know that we've done it in this meeting.
I know that CSBA has requested for resolutions to be sent to them, and so we would do that. But we could possibly do something looking at Mrs. Fortuna. Is that something that we could communicate with the public? Public Information Officer Becky Fortuna will speak to that.
Good evening. That's something we could put something on the website if that's something you'd like to do. Make an announcement. Put something, to the B. Whatever you'd like to do, I'd be willing to do that.
Yeah.
All right. And I think that this would be a great opportunity for us to put this out in conjunction with what we're planning for Friday, for April 20th, that many of us board members and administrative staff are going to be out at our high school sites during the lunch hour, there to answer questions, to meet with students, and to engage with them on their questions or concerns concerning school safety, and anything they have questions regarding that. So I know a number of you are already scheduled to be out at the high schools. So if we wanted to do that in conjunction, release this resolution, and then announce that would probably be a good way to do it.
I agree.
Great. All right, are we ready for a motion on this with the revisions suggested by Trustee Lopez and Trustee Brown? All right, it's been moved by Trustee Walker.
And all the revision, they're okay with the changes?
Yeah, and so we're going to delete the word recent in the proposed revision, and then we need to add a semicolon and after elsewhere, but and then
Change have disrupted to just disrupt.
recent events throughout our nation.
Whereas tragic events throughout our nation disrupt otherwise peaceful school shootings. It went all right with the recent have disrupted.
Yeah, and then I think it's more present language.
Yeah.
That's good. Disrupt otherwise peaceful school settings. Yes. All right. So it's I've got some revisions. I'll hand it down to you.
And then on number 2, are there any revisions on that? The suggested. Okay, and so we'll add it in where they say. And so the motion's been made by Trustee Walker, and I'm sorry, I forgot who seconded. Trustee West has seconded. It's a resolution, so we'll do a roll call.
Student Rep Jimenez.
Aye.
Trustee Brown.
Aye.
Trustee Grenbow. Trustee Lopez.
Aye.
Trustee Marks.
Aye.
Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Trustee West.
Aye.
Board President Newman.
Aye. All right, the motion passes unanimously. All right, that takes us to the last few things on our agenda, which is the report of meetings attended by board members. I'm looking for lights. I've got Mr. Grenbow.
Well, this is not really a school thing, but on Friday I attended Neil Simon's play, The Rumors. And our own trustee West was magnificent. She was very funny. It was a very good production. And not only was she funny, she was glamorous. But it was a very good time. It actually is the first time I've went as an adult to a production like that, and I was pleasantly entertained.
Thank you.
It was good, and she was good.
Thank you. All right. Trustee Walker.
I thought Chad would be first over there. I did one meeting. We went, Chad, myself, you, Superintendent Rick were at the AgAware luncheon over at MJC. And that's always a good event. And I think the highlight at the end was about 90 seconds with me and Chad. Once his back gets better, we're going to whiteboard in my house, and we're going to get me schooled up on these financial bond things so that I can wrap my hands around it, since we're not that far from each other and I have a monster-sized whiteboard in my kitchen.
All right, Trustee Brown.
The AgAware luncheon was amazing, and great to see all of our students there promoting the things that they're doing through the FFA programs, and appreciate the attention that they've received and the opportunities that we continue to provide them. Also, just want to report briefly that I have started meeting with people regarding the bond committee, and I'm pleased to report that Ginger Johnson will co-chair that committee with me to make sure that we're successful. So there won't be many opportunities for me to share what happens in that committee at board meetings, but since we don't officially have a bond on the table yet, I can share some of those details now. And we've started to receive great suggestions and support from our consultants, and we're raring to go. So.
Good. All right, Trustee Lopez.
So it's not an event it's not a meeting that I've gone to, but I will be the first guest reader at the Bret Hart parent student reading that they have each month at 8 a.m. And so I invite all my fellow board members to also join and hopefully read a book with the students.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. Trustee Marks.
I had a meeting in Sacramento with CSBA, and it was on governance. So I'm the representative. They asked a past president to come and be on this committee, which is kind of fun. But we're redoing we're looking at redoing the whole structure of CSBA, which will be interesting. It's the same structure that was set up in 1930s. So when it started. So it will be interesting to see where we go from here, but it's always good to look at, are we governing ourselves in a proper way when have things changed in society, and should we change how we do things? So delegate assembly, we don't know what that'll look like again. Positions on boards at 30 plus people, 30,000, and then get a member. So I don't know, but we're gonna look at all of it and we'll see. I said, what's gonna happen to it? I have no idea, but you can go through all those meetings and it doesn't move forward. So we'll see. It's worth the discussion at least, so, but it was good.
All right, Student Representative Jimenez.
Thank you. A couple of things that I will be going to. I spoke to the Davis High Language Institute director, and I'll be visiting there pretty soon, as well as I've been meaning to visit Connecting Waters before my term ends, so I'll talk to you after the meeting if that's okay. as well as I'd like to bring the new student representative with me once we do get that name, which we'll have interviews in about 2 or 3 weeks. Another thing is, let's see, totally lost my train of thought. Oh, training materials for the new student representative. So I've created like the online Schoology, and I'll be passing that on as well as the Remind account for the Inter-High Council. But something I want to kind of embark for the new student representative, hope she doesn't hate me, he or she doesn't hate me, is kind of like a connection to knowing how to not just attend the board meetings and preside over the Inter-High Council, but add to the training materials. So this can be something like the training that's actually hosted at SCOE. I had it in January, but having a conversation with Miss Chrissy Mastras, it was that how are we going to have a training event in the middle of, the student representative's term? We did have to pay for that training. I believe it was around $100. So I did mention to Ms. Mastras about hosting that myself. I have the binder and the student rights handbook that I was given. I do have contact with the state student board member, so I think I can get a couple free ones from him. But as far as the training, it'd be nice to do it earlier in the year. But even without that, I like to host something myself with the new student representative just to ensure that he or she is fully capable. So I'm assuming I would speak to our PIO, Ms. Fortuna, about that, but I just wanted to publicly announce that. Thank you. Oh, and one more thing, Tournament of Talent, Thursday, May 3rd.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for being such an active and involved student representative. We appreciate it. Thank you. And Trustee Lopez.
Sorry, I forgot that I mentioned the date. But for the student parent reading program will be April 26th at 8 a.m. at Bret Harte Elementary.
Great. All right. Are there any more? I think we covered it. All right. So I'm looking for let's see, any items to add to future agendas. Looking for lights. All right, Trustee Brown.
I apologize for talking so much tonight, but there was something that came up in the board reports, and I really appreciate the extra information that's provided. But a huge question came to mind, and I know there's clarification, but in page A4, number 6, it reported that there are between 400 and 600 students every year that are excluded from school attendance due to lack of the required immunizations. So in my mind, that number tells me that that's the equivalent of an entire elementary school ADA. I'd like to know if we can get a report on what's happening with those students. Are we recapturing some of them? And are there students that actually do fall completely through the cracks because of a lack of immunizations, and what programs are available to them? So if we could get clarification on that, I think a simple report would be adequate. But I would certainly appreciate it, and I think that it's important for the public to know.
All right, Trustee Walker.
Okay, this is going to work its way from the student rep around. I'm looking for co-sponsors. It's been a year since last May, and so we're bringing back my request to revisit what we're doing with mathematics. I'm taking a more grander tour this time. Instead of just looking at high school, I've put together a proposal that includes junior high. It includes elementary level, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4 grades. And I've actually got it out for peer review with teachers, a superintendent in another district, and I'm going out to 2 PhDs in the Stanford area as well. And my request is this come back in time for it to be actionable, which means that we need to be in the May-June time frame, because after that, school starts and there's an 8-week boundary there. And I don't know how we work with this together, or if we'll figure that out next, but it's working its way around.
Anyone else? All right, then I'm looking for a motion to adjourn, and we decided we're going to just briefly adjourn into closed session to finish up the last item. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn into closed session.
So moved.
So it's been moved by Trustee Grembo and seconded by Trustee Marks. All right, we are adjourned.